Offer valid on standard browsers, U.S. only.
When I heard about Date My Age, I thought, really? But there I was in my empty, quiet house, my laptop on the kitchen counter, and I typed in my name. Looking for a man between the ages of 40 to 60? Sure, why not?
Date My Age is different. With verified profiles, you can feel safe and secure to explore meaningful connections with interesting and mature singles.
Date My Age made it really easy. I could join and view online profiles for free. All of a sudden, my empty house wasn't so quiet anymore. I got so much attention, it just made me feel seen and alive. Date My Age helped me start a totally new chapter in my life.
Find a friend, a lover, a partner at Date My Age. Get 60% off when you join at datemyage.com today. That's datemyage.com to connect with thousands of singles worldwide. datemyage.com.
Hello, hello.
Hi there.
We are trying a new way of recording. We're doing the remote thing. Pascale is in her car, and if you see any of our clips or watch us on YouTube, she's got a companion with her. But I'm not going to tell you who it is. You have to look at the clips.
There he is.
Surprise. It's a surprise. Very handsome fellow.
He is.
They're going to think you have your cat or something.
I wish.
Yeah, well, you guys will see. It's a special friend. Welcome back. This is Life in Jest, and I'm Selene Castrovilla.
I'm Pascale in my car.
I can't stop looking at you now. Like, you know what I mean? I'm so used to you being next to me.
Yeah, right. Now we can
I'm
actually look at
fixated.
each other.
I have to stop to look at my notes, but okay. Okay, so I have a fun episode, I think. I did a lot of deep diving research. Well, I don't know how deep. Not as deep dive as when I read my books. I'm used to but I did a couple of hours of research for this.
Wow.
I didn't even tell you what it is.
No, I have no idea.
I know. Well, I'll tell you in a minute, but first we're going to have a couple of little mini segments. I have to catch us up a little bit on the Karen Reed trial. It's very exciting because there seems to be so much happening in this trial. It's like going at breakneck speed. So I'm just going to update us a little bit more. There's this other guy that testified. Whenever a cop testifies, they just don't seem very personable. They're like kind of like lunkish. Is that a word? A lunk? It should be.
No, but I like it.
I don't know, but this guy just looks like the saddest sack. What? It is a word?
It's now a word.
Okay, I like it. This guy looks like he's so friggin' miserable, and he's getting his ass kicked by Jackson. Like the crosses are where it's at. You could skip the whole. When it comes to the prosecution side, you can skip the whole regular questioning and just go to the cross, and you'll get the recap anyway of what happened in the prosecution stuff because he's going back. It's so fascinating. Jackson is the best. So this guy, he came back for the stand. I think he was there for half a day on Thursday for the cross, and then all day on Friday, and then yesterday. It was yesterday, I think, or whatever day. They took one day off, whichever day they were there. That morning, when Jackson said good morning, the guy's like, good morning. Like he was about to be, executed.
It was not a good morning for him.
Not a good morning. It's not a good morning. That guy's name is Sergeant Ira Levin. I hope I'm saying it right. I've heard them say it a million times, so I'm really bad at pronunciation. You might have gotten that already. Buchanik, Bukhenik. And he's from another place, apparently. He at one point said that his English is his third language.
Look at him.
Yeah. So when it's convenient, he asks Jackson to define, like he acts like he doesn't understand what he's saying. But it's only sometimes. Jackson's like, you just used that word when you were talking. Now you don't understand when I'm asking you the question. It's kind of funny. So the interesting thing is this guy, I'm going to call him Yuri because this way.
Yeah, that's easier.
He was Michael Proctor's supervisor. So Michael Proctor is the guy that got fired after all, mostly for those horrible text messages he wrote about Karen Reed. For example, he said hopefully she'll kill herself. He called her retarded. He called her was horrible things, right? And Yuri was disciplined for not disciplining Proctor. And as a matter of fact, at the end of the whole investigation, he gave Proctor a glowing report. He said he was excellent. He said it was respectful. He said it was honorable. Like everything the guy wasn't. Well, I guess he never knew that the stuff was they probably didn't think that their text chain was going to come under scrutiny. Because it turns out the thing, Yuri was in on these texts, some of them, not all of them. But for example, when he called Karen retarded, he liked the comment. Yuri, the boss.
Wow.
And actually there was even a higher guy, a guy that supervised like the whole department. He also was in that chat. And everybody thought it was just fine to say such horrible things about somebody who at that point, it doesn't matter if she's a defendant or not. You don't say that about anybody, but she's a person. You don't write it. I mean, we think these guys are doing, I'm not saying I never thought cops were, nobody's proper. I'm not proper either, but I still don't insult people. I don't do horrible things like that. It's quite shocking. So this guy got an official reprimand. He waived his right for a trial and he lost 5 vacation days, which is really not a lot.
Wow, that's it?
I know, but the other guy got fired. Michael Proctor got fired. And that was, I bet you he only got fired because it was such a high profile case. You know what I mean? Usually getting fired, like that's extreme. They don't usually get fired unless they do something like, kill somebody.
Listen, what he did, I mean, it's just wrong.
It's
I'm
so
sorry.
wrong.
I think he should have been fired.
Jackson's questioning him like, what did you mean so you checked that box. So did you mean you were approving of it? Were you encouraging him? It's like, I don't remember. He's exactly, it's a whole bunch of I don't remembers, I don't recall, but he had to admit that he did it. And it sucks, I guess, for him. So previously they had him read, remember there were all those texts from Brian, the Brian that, not Brian Albert, the other Brian. He's the one that had the flirtatious stuff. They made this cop read all those texts, the flirtatious texts. And I'm really not clear on why. I mean, I know why it's better for the defense that this guy reads them, because the other guy was like, defendant, me. Like he kept saying defendant, like, but this guy also put some inflection in it. He was more lively when he read those texts than any other time in his testimony. So I'm not sure why, but those texts, everybody livened up for those texts. But to me, I don't know, they're boring. What that stuff is like. It's endless. Like, do you like me? I like you. Like who needs this?
Oh my God. It's annoying even when you're the one doing it. It's annoying.
Exactly. It was very strange for these people, well out of high school to be acting like this. But I guess this is what people do. But this garnered a lot of attention, but I didn't think it was as interesting as the text chain where Michael Proctor was saying these horrible things. I think that's far more interesting. This guy is a really bad witness. Well, I guess he's good for the defense, but he's bad for the prosecution because he would not admit to anything. When Jackson kept saying, well, Michael Proctor was heading the investigation, right? And the guy's like, no, he was the lead investigator. And Jackson's like, well, isn't that the same thing? No. But every time the guy just denied it as opposed to just saying, yeah, it was repeated once more by Jackson. So it was just hammering what the prosecution didn't want to hammer. It was very strange. He didn't sound like he was well prepped, or maybe he just didn't get the whole thing. I really don't know. But they had to put him. I mean, the other guy got fired. And Jackson keeps saying former trooper, former trooper Proctor.
Oh.
So, I mean, look, they deserve it. He got fired. When they knew he was acting like that, they should have ended it right there. So he hands the guy a binder of affidavits, and it's all like search warrants and this and that. And he kept making him say who signed for them. It was always Michael Proctor. So, like, Michael Proctor obviously was important in this investigation because he signed for every single thing. Like, it was just ridiculous. Yeah, so he made him, if he had just said, yeah, he was in charge, probably we could have been spared all that. Or maybe not, I don't know. So then this part was interesting. I'm fascinated with the dog, as are you, right?
Yeah.
By the way, we found out the dog's name was Chloe, but the dog is rehomed, and now the dog's name is Cora. And I don't like that they renamed the dog. I mean, the dog's been through enough.
How old was that dog that they renamed the dog?
7, right? I think so.
Why would you do that? That's like giving a child
dramatic.
A different name at 7. Like,
yeah.
What?
I don't know why.
It's not like,
yeah.
If it's a puppy, sure.
I don't. Yeah. Why?
That dog's probably like, who are they talking to?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand. Now it's got new people, new name. What's happening? It's very strange.
Oh, poor dog.
So this guy Yuri is big on semantics. Like for a guy whose English is his second or third language, he likes to argue about Jackson's phrasing. So Jackson said, "Did you learn they got rid of the dog, the Alberts?" And Yuri said, "We learned they no longer cared for the dog. I don't know if get rid of is accurate." So
Really?
yeah, so Jackson is the master, though, and he got the final word because he got Yuri to agree that they no longer had the dog. And then he said, "So they got rid of the dog." Like, he just said it, like, I mean, why are you arguing about nonsense? Just, there's really no way good to say. I mean, they were no longer caring for it. That sounds like they were the nanny and they got discharged.
It's stupid.
Very much so. But here, this is also strange. So Yuri traveled to see the dog. It is in her new home. But there was no reason for this visit. He didn't collect any, so he says. Now, this could be a lie. I just thought of that. I wonder, we all know that I'm not a legal anything, and this is all just our conversation. But he said he went there, but he didn't get anything like the impressions of the dog's teeth or anything that you could compare to the stuff that was on poor John. Well, what did you do? Just, you can't interview the dog. The dog's just going to go woof, like, what was it, like just a petting day? Go to the petting zoo? Like, I'm not sure what the point of was going there. He said he spoke to the new owners. What were they going to say? They weren't there.
They weren't there. That's the
And the
whole thing
dog
is so
can't be.
silly.
It just sort of boggles the mind. Why not get
Everything,
the evidence?
everything about this case boggles the mind.
But it just occurred to me, what if he had gotten the impressions, but maybe they matched and he didn't want them to? He could have thrown them. This is all suppose. I am not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying it seems odd that he went all the way over there and got nothing, right?
Because there was nothing to get.
And no, there is something to get.
No, that's
Yeah.
not what I meant.
Yeah.
Let me clarify what I'm talking about. The way he did it, there was nothing to get. If you're not going to take impressions of the dog's teeth, there's nothing else you need to do there.
And some people were saying there could be possibly DNA from the dog on the, like, if, from the, now, I don't know, the guy's in the snow, who knows, DNA could be compromised, right? But if the dog bit him and if there was saliva, the dog could have left DNA. So he could have taken some saliva from the dog, but he took nothing. There had to be something with the dog or they wouldn't have gotten rid of the dog. I just can't imagine. And the dog was gone the next morning. Right?
Yeah, to give away a dog that you've had for 7 years is very odd behavior.
Unless there was something, but it wouldn't have happened so quickly, like so suddenly. To have that's
no
up with that.
Right, something.
So, well, we'll continue to monitor that. It's amazing how much excitement there is from each day of the trial. Like, it's quite riveting. But okay, and then there's another trial that just started, and that is Puffy P. Diddy Loves. And I'm not going to talk. I mean, frankly, the thing about talking about these things before they happen is when you hear the testimony, you're no longer surprised because you already knew what they were going to say, right? Because we've already heard, Cassie went on the stand, but we've already heard about all these freak-offs and this and that. So I hope that they found people that never heard this stuff before. And I find it hard to believe that they could find a jury that didn't hear anything about it, but maybe they'd heard things, but they promised to let it go or something,
I don't know how nowadays anybody finds anyone who hasn't heard of these things with these big trials.
with everything, especially him, But it's possible that they had to just settle for, you have to promise to put everything you heard out of your mind and be impartial,
Yeah.
It's interesting. But we all know about the freak-offs and that baby oil stuff. Cassie said when she was in the freak-offs, she needed the baby oil every hour. She must have been very...
Ew.
I'm sorry.
First of all, yeah, ew. Second of all, who decided to name it freak-off? Like, it's so... Really?
I'm sure that was him. And it's funny, it's not funny, but people had heard about that and they never took it seriously. Just thought it was a joke or something. Nobody ever really took it seriously. No one that wasn't involved really questioned it. At least that's what they say. And also, of course, they're not going to admit, that everyone's going to distance themselves as much as possible. It's just, that's human nature. They said that he hadn't seen her in 2.5 years, but he really looked at her when she came in. Did you hear that when they were selecting the jury, he said that he was nervous? I'm surprised that he even admitted that, because he usually doesn't admit anything of any weakness or anything. Maybe he's looking for sympathy.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I have to tell you, I know almost nothing about any of this. I mean, I've heard
Well,
a few things. That's pretty much
you
it.
know why he's out. You know why he's charged and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
The sex
I mean,
trafficking.
I
Yeah.
know, don't know.
Cassie, she's got a lot of cachet because she was his girlfriend for so long, and she had a lawsuit that he settled with. I think they were able to file the charges once they started looking at the things she has alleged in the lawsuit, something like that. She's the one that's opened the whole bag. The thing that I thought was kind of interesting, creepy, but interesting, during her testimony, she revealed her nickname for him. Guess what her nickname for him was?
I feel like it's not
It's
going to
really
be
creepy.
good. What?
It's creepy. Pop Pop.
Okay. Ugh.
Pop Pop. You don't find that?
I'm
Okay.
like, it's
She didn't
gross.
want.
I have a friend whose granddaughter calls her grandfather
Yes.
Pop Pop.
Well, that was, she said when they were choosing nicknames for one another, she didn't have one for him, and he's 17 years older than her. So he asked her what she called her grandfather, and she said Pop Pop.
Come on.
This is a testimony. How did she?
Ew.
I think at that point I would have to leave.
Yes. What?
She said she thought it was a weird nickname, but yet was she? Why did she? She just did it anyway. I can't call a man that I'm dating
Nope.
Pop Pop. It's just
Nope.
I can't.
Nope. Nope.
I
No,
don't
no,
even
no,
like
no,
when
no.
that daddy stuff is gross too. I cannot stand that when the guys want you when they call. I can't
No.
stand it.
None
It's
of it.
gross.
Listen, I hear that. I'm saying, oh, I forgot something at home and I'm never coming back.
I don't. It's very strange. But it's sad because she said he gave her drugs for this freak offs and she wanted them because she didn't want to be in her right mind. She didn't want to be really present. And they asked her if there was anything she ever enjoyed about the whole time, the whole dating. And she said her one-on-ones with him. That's sad. He probably,
Oh my
who
God.
knows when he did that, but you know what I mean? Isn't it sad that she was just waiting for that, like dealing with all the rest of it? He was paying for everything for her. She was at his mercy. Because
Lord.
he was she was under contract with him, but he was stopping her from recording. She couldn't go to anybody else, you see, so she was trapped.
What
Sad.
must her childhood have been like? My God.
Well, when you first meet the guy, I'm sure he's utterly charming, right? And she signed the contract not knowing what he was going to turn into. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that she thought you probably think you hit the jackpot when you sign a record deal with him as a producer,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, yeah, I can see
So
that.
and then things just turn into a friggin' nightmare. I could see that. He's one of the biggest producers. Of course. How could you go wrong? But
I
then
know, but after hearing all these stories, like anybody who's coming up, like run. Every time you hear a story like that, it never ends well.
from other people, you mean, because he's done.
No, I mean like these guys who promise you whatever, like how many
Yeah.
times do we need to hear these stories? You need to run.
It's hard when someone, is so
No,
famous.
I
And,
feel,
yeah.
of course, I feel bad for
Yeah.
them because you think that it's going to turn out well.
It's sad.
It just always seems to crash and burn.
Well, those are the stories we hear. Maybe there are some good stories. I don't know.
I really hope so.
I hope
I
so
mean, I
too.
guess there has to be, right? But you hear so many
Yeah,
bad ones.
there must be. Probably a lot of people on his record label were happy, although he was taking 50%. That's way too much money to be taking from people, but it is what it is. But it just sounds like a tough case for him to beat. I mean, it sounds incredibly hard to dig his way out of this one.
Yeah, well, too bad.
I know. Okay, so on to our main event. It's called The Stepford Wives and Sex Robot Use, What the Male Psychology Behind Both Tells Us. Okay, so I got the idea because the sex robots are really coming along, right? We heard. Did you hear the segment last week on Howard?
I did.
Yes,
Yeah, I did.
I got the idea. I've always been kind of not interested in a good way, but I've always felt kind of threatened by the sex dolls. It's like feeling like they're
Why?
edging it because they're gonna, not for me personally, but for humanity, because men will go towards them, and where will relationships go? That's what I wanted to explore. Maybe I'm wrong, but if
Pretty
with
sure everything's headed that way anyway, not just with these dolls, but in general.
yeah, but this really can kill relationships. Well, I thought about it because Ronnie, the limo driver from Howard Stern, went to this, and Mamet, two people from the Howard Stern show, went to this factory where they make these sex robots, and they've really come a long way. And now these dolls can actually feign emotions.
God, I thought they sound like Siri.
Yeah, but
They
a
sound
little bit.
robotic.
Well, I don't think guys will care, though. Do you? They just want the
I
response.
guess
Actually,
not.
yeah, but the sex sounds sounded real.
I guess. I thought the whole thing was very it reminded me of Rosie from the Jetsons. I was like, this sounds like a robot to me.
Well, let's put it this way. Right now, that's that. But they're going to just keep getting them more and more perfected. That's what I'm saying. And soon, I mean, the Stepford Wives was all about the idea of getting rid of your wife, trading your wife in for this robotic thing that just takes care of all your needs. You're the boss, and they don't talk back, and they do whatever you want. The Stepford Wives always bothered me. Did you see the movie or read the book?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen the movie. I think I've saw both.
Yeah.
The old one and the new one.
Well, the old one is the realistic one, like the book, but the new one was a little more, actually way more up my alley. But so the Stepford
So funny.
Wives. Yeah, it was
so
funny.
funny. No, I actually, at my job, we have to distinguish between the originals and the remakes, and I always forget how to do it. I don't know why. And I always use the Stepford Wives as my example. Always. I
Because
have
it's
no
clear
idea.
which one is which.
Yes, and that's the one
Yeah.
I remember.
Right.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So they were, let me just, for people that don't know, It's for Wives is a 1972 feminist horror novel, which is what it was coined by others, by Ira
really?
Levin. Yeah, and that works. You know who was quoted a
Just
lot in
never
it?
heard that term.
Well,
That
one of the people that said it, who was quoted a lot in this, it's an art. I found an article about it. What was it called? I'll get to it with the article, but Stephen King was quoted quite a lot.
Well, now you've said something.
That's right. I knew you'd like that. I even have a quote from him at the
Of
end.
course. Of course I like.
So it was about a Connecticut town where the men belong to a club that kills their wives and replaces them with clone robots who have no outside careers and cheerfully perform their own household and sexual duties. And that's it. And taking care of the children. What did the kids think? Right? All of a sudden, mom is totally different. They can't be that stupid. Like, they have, you know what I mean?
Well, I guess if they're older than 2.
Yeah, some of the kids have to be older, right?
Right. I don't know.
Right. And then what will happen to the girls when they grow up? So creepy. And now sex dolls have reached the point where they are robots who can speak and react, I put in quotes, to what is being done to them. And they give a submissive performance that includes praising the men heavily. In essence, the man is a stud and can do no wrong. So that's what made me think about they're both kind of the same, assuming the sex dolls get to that point. And I think they will soon. Neither of these talk back. Neither of these can offer individuality, connection, or love. And the horror of the Stepford Wives is that the men don't care about those traits. What they want is to dominate and have their primal needs met. And I wrote in parentheses, feed me, fuck me. That's what my boxing coach told me once. He goes, men are very primal, feed me, fuck me. And then I actually found an article that a guy wrote that said the same thing. And then he said he wants a third F, forgive me, like forgive me when I'm a jerk. But the robots don't have to forgive. They'll never be upset. So that's perfect. All three are met.
If I'm being honest, I don't want a guy that is like that. I would rather them go with a robot. Be
No,
done.
all right. That is the question. How many men are not like that? Like, how many? Okay, there's more to this than just a man being like that. It's the influence of all that stuff, like going to that club and all the men. That's what we're really going to talk about. The cultural aspect of it, not just each. Yes, individually, men might not want that, but then they get seduced into the whole. It's the mindset of the whole thing. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Let's see. So I said, are the ever-improving sex robots about to provide these same things to men? Will our men prefer these plastic pleasers over women? What does that say about humanity and what will happen to it? The Stepford Wives is an expression of the cultural and social ethos of the late 1960s and early 70s, not only in terms of second wave feminism, but also in terms of the social psychology of evil. That's the thing about the group thing that we'll talk about. The novel portrays Stepford men as embedded in and continually influenced by multiple systems within the psychosocial environment. So the social society, the social psychology of evil explores how societal factors and situational influences can transform individuals into perpetrators of harm, even good people, by examining factors like dehumanization, blind obedience to authority, and the power of social norms. It investigates the conditions under which people commit acts of cruelty, violence, and abuse, rather than solely focusing on individual flaws or inherent evil.
Isn't that what's going on in the country right now?
That's right. Exactly.
Didn't
Exactly.
that
So
go
this is
on in
more than even just the talk
Germany?
about, yeah, well, it's going on here. It's like
Yes.
it's happening every day. We hear of more and more examples of that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what this is a broader topic, actually. So dehumanization these are parts of the whole social psychology of evil. Treating individuals or groups as less than human, making them easier to harm. Yeah, that's constantly going on here. Obedience to authority, the tendency to follow orders from those in positions of power, even when the orders are harmful. Social norms and conformity, the influence of group pressure and expectations on individual behavior, potentially leading to harmful actions. And there's an experiment that was done by this guy, Philip Zimbardo. He's a psychologist. He's the one that coined, I believe he's the one that coined the social psychology of evil, but this is all his stuff. And he did an infamous experiment in a prison, Stanford prison experiment, and just by assigning roles, these people that were not normally cruel started just going along with everything because it was just assigned to them that was the thing to do. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for humanity. The banality of evil, the idea that ordinary people can be complicit in atrocities, often without a strong moral conviction or a clear understanding of the consequences. So, they don't even know why they're doing it. That reminds me of ICE. They're just going along with everything. Just going along with everything. It's stop.
Of course. Exactly. The only thing that comforts me in any way there are people that are not falling for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there's so many people who do. It's like Jonestown. How did they all fall for the same shit?
From what I
Just like now.
understand,
How is everybody falling?
well, Jonestown, I don't think I've heard recently from somebody that knew a lot more about than I did that it didn't start out like that. They didn't
No, it
understand that it
didn't
was going to
start
turn
out
into
like
this
that.
more cult-like thing. Yeah. And when it came to the Kool-Aid
Yeah.
thing, and it wasn't Kool-Aid, by the way, it was like a knockoff brand, but
No, it
they,
was like Flavor Aid or something.
there were armed guards there and they had to drink it. It was either that or get shot.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Listen, I'm
how do
all
people
for
wind
it.
up in this? Yeah. You're all for it?
I've never, no, I'm all for it if you want to join a group, if it makes you feel better. But, when they're telling me we're going to go live in the jungle, I got to say I'm out.
I don't know what made them get to that point. I really don't know. I honestly get very upset by Jonestown, and I don't want to read anything.
It's very upsetting.
But
What
it
I'm
is
saying
ironic.
is
Yeah.
people seem to go with it. I just don't
Well, right.
think
Well,
about it.
this is the thing. This is what we're talking about. The why people go with these things. Like at any point, like what is it about them that does that? And we don't have the answers, but these are the things that have to be thought about. Maybe it will stop others. Maybe people will start listening to this stuff, and maybe like when you hear somebody else talking about it and it's not being said to you directly, maybe it makes more sense. I don't know. The situational factors, like the power dynamics, these kind of things, the role of empathy. There's no empathy in these situations, the
No.
inability to empathize with others. But why? Why are they suddenly not empathizing? I find it hard to believe that. I just find it hard to believe that So many people lack empathy and power and control. The exercise of power, especially without oversight or accountability, that can lead to abuse and harm. So in this case, we're talking about men. I mean, because men are the ones that did this stuff in Stepford, and men are the ones who, I think most sex dolls are bought by men. Wouldn't you agree?
I didn't even know there. Oh, I guess women could buy it. It never occurred to me.
I don't know. Yeah, I would say it would be mostly men. Yeah, and the
Yeah,
psychology of it. And is this something that once it sort of takes over, it's going to be like a group mentality take it over? Like it's more about the idea that they would sacrifice a real human experience and not care about another person just for this rubber thing. Like it's really horrible. It always got to me with the Stepford Wives, especially the end. But let's see. I found
I
this
mean,
analysis. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, don't you find that this is the way things are going in general? People are not connecting anymore.
Yeah.
And I'd hate to say this about any generation because it's obviously it's not everybody, but people are so isolated nowadays that they don't interact. Like, everything is done on the internet. People don't call anybody. People don't, like you order everything. You don't call anybody. You don't call to order food. You don't call to order things.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. I didn't think
You
about
know,
that. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, in general, I think we're headed that way.
So maybe that thing about us not eating dinner together makes sense after all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does. People are just not, I mean, not everybody, obviously.
Maybe if people start paying attention to it, if they want to stop it from happening, maybe they think about it a little bit. You know how we just do things, we just sort of slide into behavior, we don't even realize we're doing it? Well,
Absolutely.
maybe if we take note of it, like stop, drop, and roll, like just like, okay, do I
Yeah.
really need to do this all the time? But I worry when I worry about why they make the choice, not for ordering food or anything like that, but the choice to, you know, not have a real relationship, instead buy this, what is it, a $12,000 doll
I
that
mean,
just
where do you put it when your
satisfies.
family comes over?
My God,
Like, do you
well, I
prop
mean,
it up on the couch? Like, what happens?
no, you just
Like, where do you
stop. You
put
just put it
that?
away. You're a bachelor.
Gosh,
I don't think
I
that
don't
you
know.
would show anybody, you know.
I would hope not. I mean, not to shame anybody, but it's just, it's, I don't know.
Sometimes we should shame people.
Yes,
I
I
just,
mean,
it's not, I don't, well,
like I
I just think it's not that they have it. Have it all you want, but to the exclusion of other relationships. Like, like the idea, like, there's a lot of things. I read a lot of interesting thoughts about these things. And there's one thing I was going to bring it up later, but did you ever see the movie Lars and the Real Girl?
No, I mean, I know what it's about,
That's
but
a
I
great
don't think I
movie, and
ever
it's just
saw
the
it.
opposite. This young man was so damaged that he closed himself off from any real relationships, and he got a real doll. He wasn't using it for sex. He actually called it his girlfriend and went around with it, introduced it to people. I mean, it was just really sad. And this is a complete spoiler. If anybody wants to watch this, move ahead. Move ahead. I don't know, 30 seconds. But in the end, maybe move ahead a minute because I speak slow. But he meets a girl, but he's involved with this woman. And so they have to say that she died, and they have a whole town funeral for the doll. Like everybody's in on it. It's a lovely movie, like very caring movie, but I don't think that really would have, like in the real life, it's more like it's not that beautiful. You know what I mean? It's not that exquisite.
No, listen, I know a lot of open-minded people, but I don't know anybody open-minded enough to attend a funeral for a doll that isn't.
Well, yeah, but that movie, they were all, they all sort of like, they started really caring. Look, I just think that a
Listen,
guy wouldn't really buy a doll with that purpose. I think if a guy was going to buy the doll, he actually would use it as a sex doll, mostly. Let's talk about the Stepford Wives. I found an analysis of the Stepford Wives with the emphasis of examining the men, which notes that most, if not all, of the examinations have been about the women and the role of feminism. So it's called Group Psychology and Crowd Behavior in Ira Levin's The Stepford Wives. And it's by Afra Alshiban, Alshiban. This essay argues that in Ira Levin's The Stepford Wives, a collectivist-oriented society is created through de-individualization, obedience, compliance, and conformity to group norms. A malevolent leader clouds Stepford's men's thinking and cultivates the perception that women are less than human, making them appear as an enemy deserving of annihilation. So that's interesting. He's warps their mind so much that, oh yeah, this is the enemy. It makes them not care. That sort of sounds like what might happen to some soldiers before they attack the enemy. You know what I mean? You have to sort of dehumanize. I think this is all from the essay. Levin introduced the term Stepford wife. You know, we use the term Stepford wife for those women that are like, you know, we mock women that are, you know, we could be cruel. You know, these perfect women.
It's not nice.
Yeah. But and we mean it to be a person showing the effects of ideological brainwashing, as though like if they weren't brainwashed, why would they be like that? Maybe they'd care, you know. But ironically, it is not so much the Stepford wives who have been subject to brainwashing as the Stepford husbands who fall prey to the Men's Association and its murderous ideology. Therefore, when men murder women and replace them with machines, the emphasis should be on them. That's a good point.
This is all really great points. They're all
in the roots of evil. Remember, this is all I'm reading right now from the thing. In The Roots of Evil, psychologist Erwin Staub maintains that normal people under certain conditions can progress along the continuum of destruction and become perpetrators of great evil. This evil, according to Staub, arouses from multiple systems within the psychosocial environment. Being part of a system shapes views, rewards adherence to dominant views, and makes deviation psychologically demanding and difficult. So it's really hard for them to get out of it once they're in it.
Yeah.
And then Zimbardo, which is the guy that did that's other stuff we were talking about. Well, this is so scientific. That other stuff.
You know,
I'm presenting my paper to Switzerland. He supports that outlook, arguing that most individuals placed in psychologically compelling situations can be persuaded to perform unlawful acts regardless of their morals, ethics, values, attitudes, beliefs, or personal convictions. This is really terrifying, not only about the Stepford thing and sex robots or whatever, but in terms of our whole world. I mean, at least our society.
Yeah,
Are other
definitely.
places having the same difficult? Is it us? Is it only us that is having this problem? This country?
No,
It's
not. It's not just us. And you know, the sad part is this all existed. It's just, it's like okay now. Like
well, that's why.
The best piece of financial advice I've ever received is to pay yourself first. That's why now with every paycheck I receive, I start by putting a little bit away for those rainy days. Today's episode is sponsored by Acorns. Acorns is a financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns recommends a diversified portfolio that can help you weather all of the market's ups and downs. Using Acorns, before I knew it, I had a couple $1,000s in a little nest egg account. Sign up now and join the over 14 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $25 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/BBM or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/BBM.
It takes the one person to be the ringleader. You know,
Yes.
Trump, you know, he's got this aura around him that people just are attracted to him. Do you think it's because he was on The Apprentice?
I don't know. I
I never
have
even
no
watched that,
idea.
but
I
apparently,
never watched it. I
yeah.
always thought honestly, I always thought he was a dick. Just like P.
me
Diddy or
too.
whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
Some people
Well,
are
we
just dicks.
also heard him on Howard all through the years, so we knew what he was really like, you know.
Even before that, I'm like, he just seemed like a smarmy businessman. He just seemed like one of those guys I would never like if I met them.
Right? I mean, I think that's a fair assessment.
And then I was like, when he was running for president, I'm like, what kind of crazy people are going to vote for this guy? Like, really?
I think it might have had to do with the fact that he was on TV and so many people, they just worship people.
I'm sure. I mean, listen, I love TV. There are a lot of people I love on TV. Doesn't mean I'm voting for them.
Well, yeah, people are easily swayed. I mean,
Listen,
Ronald Reagan was in that Make Room, what was it called? Bedtime for Bonzo.
yeah. Make Room for Daddy was Danny
Right,
Thomas.
right. I was thinking Make Room for Bonzo, but it's
Yeah.
Bedtime for Bonzo. It should be, by the time he was done being president, it was bedtime for Ronnie. But yeah, well, that's us. But so the Stepford Wives, maybe some people don't know, but it starts with about a woman named Joanna. So she's an amateur photographer, but she is a stay-at-home mother, and she relocates from New York to Stepford, Connecticut, and they have 2 children and her husband, and she settles in, and she thinks it's really cool. But then all of a sudden, she's like, "What is going on here with all these people?" Has any outside interests besides housework, social, and local supermarket shopping. They don't even want to socialize. I mean, most women, even if they're a homemaker, will still like to hang out and have a glass of wine with their friends. So she only finds 2
Yeah.
other people that are not like that. As things grow, she starts investigating, and then she finds out. And then one of them that had just moved there, she was going to have a vacation with her husband. When she comes back, she's a Stepford wife. She's totally different, and then her husband becomes more and more involved in the men's association, and Bobby and another woman, Charmaine, who was also there before Joanna, are assassinated and replaced with compliant robots. And Joanne learns the truth, but she can't get away. She wants to get away, but her kids are gone, and she asks just to be let go to her husband, but he says no. They capture her, and they're like, "Oh no, you're wrong. You're wrong. It will show you somebody that bleeds, and you'll see." But I don't know why she says okay. I mean, I guess she didn't have a choice, but they bring it to this room, and that Bobby, that was formerly her friend, but is now, I mean, the robots are totally different things, and
Yeah.
then her friend kills her. I mean, it's not her friend; she's a robot, but it's like they don't show her actually getting killed. They show like she has a knife in her hand, and as though and Joanne is like hoping that she's going to show that she bleeds, but the music's getting louder and louder, not to drown out her screams, right? But then all of a sudden they show her in the supermarket with absolutely no inclination to do anything except shot and take care of her family. I mean, isn't that's so horrific? That's so horrific.
Yeah. By the way,
Yeah.
it's
I
so
always
much
thought that
like
Ira
Attack of the
Levin.
Pod People.
What?
And so much like Attack of the Pod People. Is that the name of that movie? The Pod
No,
People.
I don't know.
Vincent
Oh,
Price.
you mean Vincent Price? I don't know Vince. I mean, I know who he is. I don't think I've ever seen
Yeah,
actually one of
I'm
his movies.
pretty sure it was Vincent Price.
There's a lot of those
I'm
things
pretty
where
sure it was Vincent Price. I could be wrong. But yeah, the pod people, instead of being robots, they kind of grow in a pod and they take over your leg.
okay, maybe Ira Levin was influenced by that. Ira Levin, I always thought he was evil because he had this in his head. This, and not evil. I just didn't trust the guy. I thought he hated women. He had this in his head, and then he had Rosemary's Baby, and she winds up, raising the devil and the devil's
Yeah.
child or whatever. He just doesn't sound like a guy that likes women, but people are saying that it's feminist, but I'm like, I don't know. But they said that he was observing the things that are happening against women, and he was trying to show the danger of it. I guess I just never saw it that way. Maybe because I wasn't in that time of the ultra feminism. I don't know. So,
Well, I mean, people say the same thing about Stephen King, that he must be whatever.
He scares me, yeah. Well, he doesn't, does he? He doesn't really go into just women. Like, it's everybody, right?
Who, Stephen
You know
King?
what I mean? Yeah. Stephen King doesn't just target women in his book.
Yeah, he does have a lot of books that do focus, like Dolores Claiborne, Rose Madder. There are books that focus on women that are being abused, that are in bad situations. Not all of his books, obviously, but yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, but not all his books. So, I mean, I only know Ira Levin. I don't know all his books. He didn't have that many, but these 2, the most famous, are both like, it's not that bad things happen to them. It's just they come to the most horrible end, and it feels like he's saying it's okay that it happened to them because life just goes on. But I guess it could be a condemnation. I
Yeah.
never thought about it. It was just the way it affected me.
Yeah, I
But
guess I never really thought about it either, but I could kind of see it that way.
we're influenced by our own thoughts, how we put into that stuff.
Well, of
Um,
course.
But people often criticize the second one, which is a black comedy. But I really love the second one. I thought it was well done. I thought the jokes were great. Bette Midler,
Wait, are you talking about the
the
second
second
Stepford Wives?
movie, yeah,
Yeah.
when Bette Midler becomes a Stepford wife, because she was a writer and she was all scattered. Like she's totally was like a writer. Her house was just a mess, and like they go to her house and it's absolute bedlam. And they're like, "Were you robbed?" She goes, "What? I'm writing my novel." It's absolutely the way it is. It's absolutely the way it is. And then all of a sudden, she's like Miss Homemaker. I love the end when you think that her husband, Matthew Broderick, it's Nicole Kidman and Matthew Broderick, and you think that he is going to turn her in, he's taking her into they don't kill them in this one either. They just implant this thing in their brain, which I really love
Yeah.
too. I thought it was much better, but I was able to adapt to it more, like to deal with it. But then you don't know, but then all of a sudden when they come out, it turns out that she's not, like he had not done that to her. And then this ends the whole thing. And I just love he couldn't do it to her. But I feel like that is a pipe dream. And I think that he would have done it to her.
I know, but I'd like to believe that Matthew Broderick is a good person.
This is the question. This is the question if somebody will actually not do this, when they are so. It's not just their own personal choice now, but it's like the whole thing, everything about all these men, they're all doing it, like to be part of the club, to be part. It's kind of like remember that movie with Jodie Foster and they all rape her and everything. And then people watch this crazy mentality that comes over people.
I know, but it's not everybody. There are always people who resist those
Well,
things.
I hope you're right, but all these psychologists are saying that faced in this situation, most people will fold to it.
I know, but there's always, look at history. There were people who fought the Nazis. There were people who
Yeah.
did
True.
the Underground Railroad to save slaves. There's always some sort of
Yeah.
resistance happening. I mean, is it most people? Sure.
Well,
But there's always people that fight against it.
What if they're put into that situation, like not even knowing what they're getting into, and what if they're, you know what I mean? Like say the situation of the men's club and really pushed into it, they might succumb. It's different than than the Nazis like taking over your country and you're fighting it, right? It's a little bit different than being in this circle of people that all of a sudden, oh, come on, you want to be like us. And, it's a little different.
I have faith that not everybody will
Good for
be.
you. Sociologist Robert Merton similarly believes that social breakdown and feelings of, this word anomie, and I wrote in parentheses rhymes with homie, so anomie. I had to write rhymes with homie, are major contributors to criminal acts. The definition of that word is a lack of the usual social or ethical standards in an individual or group. So maybe. Well, that actually gives hope, because if they don't have that to begin with, if they've been indoctrinated in a good way with social or ethical standards growing up, maybe they can resist it. Maybe that's good.
I definitely believe.
Yeah, you think? Well, okay. Zimbardo also stresses the importance of social structure on individual behavior and relates the effects of anomie. I thought of homie in my head to criminal conduct. Any situation that makes individuals feel that there is no law to hold them responsible for their actions reduces their sense of personal accountability, thereby creating the potential for evil action, notes Zimbardo. And he adds that if the situation or some agency gives them permission to engage in antisocial or violent action against others, individuals are ready to be inducted into the position of evildoers. I'm sorry, but that's what's going on right now. That's what's going on right now. Is
I definitely agree with that, but there are
It's
people who
terrifying.
are not.
I mean, yeah, I hope it's enough. Ronald Acker's differential association reinforcement theory, that's quite a mouthful, states that a group may promote deviant behavior by making the behavior seem excusable. Accordingly, if deviant behavior, as defined by society at large, has been reinforced more than conforming behavior, also defined by society, and if it has been justified, it is likely that deviant behavior will be maintained. See, that's saying that it can all be changed.
Yeah, I
Well, think
understand
about
that.
how societies do change. And like, I'm thinking about all those futuristic books, where, what are they called? Apocalyptic, post whatever. But they kind of do have a very deviant, that's what their theme is, that a deviant behavior has
Yeah,
become the norm,
yeah, but those are fictional.
Are we leaning more and more towards fiction? I mean, I think we're going in those. I'm such a I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry, and usually I am
I'm
not.
glad that you have so much hope. I'm finding it hard. I'm hoping that when people start thinking, I think the greatest enemy to humanity is the lack of considering what's going on. If you stop and look at yourself and say, well, what am I really doing here? That's the only thing that will really help us. If everybody stops and says, you know what? No, I'm going to choose not to do this. But that has to be a conscious decision that a lot of people are not making because they're not stopping to consider. People are so distracted. People are so whatever it is. I'm not blaming anybody, but we're so blinded by so many things are coming at us, right? In all directions. It is very easy to lose sight of your own moral compass. It's a slippery slope, but all of a sudden, there you are, and I hope people do look at themselves, especially those people that work for ICE. I mean, what are they doing? Like they're being so mean. Like it's absolutely evil what they do. Just dragging people out and this and that, and the way that people are sent off God knows what's happening to a lot of them. They're dragged out in the middle of the night. It's just these people, these ICE agents were doing good things under Biden. And it's not like it's an evil agency. Now it is because of what of the changes are. Right? They should think about what they're doing. They should all not worry about their job, worry about, am I doing the right thing? And I know it's very difficult, but that's why I would never, it must be very hard to work for the government under any circumstance. It's got to be really hard. But right now, people have to look at what they're doing, take individual accountability. It's just like what the Nazis said. It's just what the Gestapo said. I'm just doing my job. When they led people away to the gas chamber, to the concentration camps where all that evil to their demise, ultimate demise. You have to stop and say something. Maybe we should all look at them individually. When people confront them, when people see somebody being taken away, they kind of look at it as a group. We kind of like, oh my God, what are you doing? But maybe look individually at take one, look them in the eye, like, what are you doing? This is a human being. Is this right what you're doing? Would you want this to, maybe if we took them individually and spoke to them instead of, it's easy for them to ignore us if we're just looking at them as a group. Maybe if they wear masks and things. They're hiding their identities. But if we find out who they are, speak to them. Say, what are you doing? If anybody is a neighbor of an ICE agent, say to them, what are you doing? What are you doing? Is this right? What if this were you? What if this were you? Would you want this to be your mother, your sister, your baby dragged off like this?
I'm with you on this.
It's it's a different subject, and yet it's the same because it's all about conforming to what a society is making all of a sudden acceptable when it is deviant and it is evil. Our society is now making it acceptable. So it really is all the
In
same.
a lot of ways, not just ICE. There's so many
Oh,
ways.
I know. They're just the ones that come to mind because I watch them doing it,
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. Well, they took a poll and a lot of people are happy with Trump's, all the things that he's doing. I mean, what?
I can't. I really, really.
It turns out that the Pope's brother doesn't like Pelosi.
Everybody hates on that woman.
That guy seemed nice, but then he retweeted some very vicious things about liberals. Well,
I know this is going to make people are going to hate me for saying this. Please don't use this as one of your clips because I don't want to hear it.
okay.
But I'm just being honest here. And I don't know, maybe you feel the same way, not being raised religious.
Right.
I don't get the Pope thing. I really don't.
the Pope thing, but look, this guy seems
Against the
I
Pope,
think he's chill. Yeah. This Pope I like.
problem
Oh, I
with
don't get
the
the Pope
Pope.
thing. I don't get the whole.
I just don't get it.
Well, I mean, I guess it is about how you're raised. It is about this guy is very important to them, and let them,
I'm happy for them. I just don't get it, is what I'm
No.
saying.
Well, I can't say I get it either. But I will say I was interested in him being American because it was the first time it was as close to a relatable Pope as, you know what I mean? I felt more relatable to him
No, I
because he's
think that's
American.
great. I think that made a lot of people feel
Today
really
he
good.
signed a baseball for somebody.
That's sweet. I saw a
Because he's a
picture.
fan of the Chicago White Sox.
Yes, I just saw a picture of Pope Francis, and I don't, I don't get touched by a lot of things, but I forget what was going on with this little girl. There was something, I don't remember specifically what it was. And she goes up behind him, and I don't know what she was doing, but he was giving some sort of speech or whatever it is they do. And he just reached behind him and held her hand through the whole thing. And I was
That's
like,
very sweet.
that's how you can really tell somebody is a good person, not by
Yeah.
what they're saying. Obviously, we all know by your actions, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it was
That's
just so
very sweet.
sweet.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so sweet.
Yeah.
And like, I understand that it makes people feel good or whatever. It just, once again, I didn't grow up with it, so
It's
I
part of
don't.
your identity. Just as you and I don't, there's a lot of things that we don't understand about cultures, but religion might be one of the main things that we're just not getting because when you're not raised in that, you just can't quite conceive of it. I appreciate it for people. I'm glad it makes them happy. It's a problem when it's used for the wrong things. You could say
Right.
it's used the same way as this if in the wrong hands. The Pope himself seems very nice. He seems to care about people, although a lot of the quotes they're attributing them to him are not from him. I was so into the quote about being woke, and he was saying that it's a calling. I was like, I thought it was odd that he would say that, and it's absolutely false. Now they're making fake quotes from the Pope. I mean, what are you doing with your life? Why would you do this?
How do people suddenly have so much time on their hands?
They
Like,
really do. I think
I don't know about
they
you,
must
but I'm
know how to
fucking
use.
busy.
Well, they must know how to use AI just a little bit better than I do.
Just, I have no time for that shit. It's like these people who comment all this shit online. Like, I don't have,
I
even
know.
when I have free time, I have
You
no,
don't have
even when I
time.
see things I like, I don't comment on them.
A lot
because
of time,
who
right?
cares?
For example, even when it comes to viewing something on Yelp. Today I went to a diner with my mother-in-law. I really like this diner. I'm like, I really want to write them a review. I'll never write them a review. I just don't have time. If I could just think the review and then it would be there, but I'm not going to write the review because I just don't have time. But I don't know how people have all this time. It
I
is
will
crazy.
do it, but it has to be in the moment and it has to be really easy. If there's any roadblock with that,
Right.
remember, like
I
when
see
we
what you're
went
saying. Yeah.
away, when we
Yeah.
were on those tours and they gave us the, what do you call those
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
scan?
Yeah. The QR code. Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, and then it asked
Well,
me
that's
to
why
put,
they do
I was like,
that.
nope.
They do that because they want you to do it at that moment. They know you're not going to do it once you walk away.
I know, but it led me to oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm out.
I
I'm
think we
bailing.
both,
I'm not
yeah.
going to do it.
Well, was that that might have been the time we were in a rush to go to the show, too. I mean,
Plus,
also, you were not going to give that guy a good review anyway, the ponytail guy. What was it?
Man bun? No.
The ponytail
Fuck
guy.
that guy. I was seriously hating on
No,
that
but I've
guy.
been thinking, honestly, I've been thinking very fondly about that trip. I really had a great time.
It
I
was a
thought it was
great
a lot
trip.
of fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even the
definitely.
man bun guy.
No, not for me. I was like,
It's fun. It's
I do
fun to
not like
laugh.
this
It's fun
man.
to make fun of the thing.
Yes.
That's what it is. But I don't know. It was really, I had a great time. It makes me, when I think about it, I'm dying to go away again. Like I really want to get out of here.
It was really fun. Yes.
Yeah. Now I have something from Stephen King. Stephen King also perceives sex and power as interchangeable, which is scary, in the Stepford Wives. He argues that the novel and the first film pass on one message. This is one message. Men do not want women. They want robots with sex organs. That's what he said. That's upsetting. Okay. That's upsetting.
It's so funny because I mean, I don't know him personally, but he so doesn't seem to be that kind of person. Like he's been married
He
to the
didn't say
same
that.
one.
He didn't say that's his thought. He said that's
I
what the
know, but
novel is
then how
talking about.
can oh, okay. I thought
No,
I
he's not saying
misunderstood.
that's what he
I
wants.
thought he was saying that,
No.
no, not what
Yeah.
he wants, but in general. I
No,
didn't know
no,
he was
just
saying
no, the novel, just
specifically
the
about the
novel.
book.
No. The
Okay,
novel
okay.
and the first film, not the second one. In the Stepford
I
Wives,
misunderstood.
the body of the robot wife is owned by the husband and fashioned to please him. Hence, the desirable femininity for Stepford men does not lie in human wives, but rather in programmable machines designed to serve and obey. Where does this message leave us? This is my thoughts. Perhaps the men won't kill us, or perhaps they won't even put a computer chip in our brains as what happened in the much lighter remake. But perhaps men will simply discard us for sex dolls, soon to become full-fledged sex robots. And so then that leads us to think of what does that mean? How is that harmful? And of course, I found another article, a paper, I guess, called The Harmful Effects of Sex Robots on Women and Society by Syria Tona-Barthet.
Do you ever find articles by people with simple names? Like it's never Sue
No.
Smith.
No, I agree. It's never Smith. Even Sarah, I don't even know if it's Ceara. Sarah, is it Sarah? Sounds like it. I don't know. Yeah, she's got the hyphenated name. It's like, well, yeah, I got a hyphenated name. Okay,
Listen, at some point I had a hyphenated name, but I didn't like it.
right. Well, it's what you choose to when you put on a paper that really defines you. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, there was a big argument about it, and that was my compromise.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we don't know what's in Sarah's head for sure, but here's what she wrote. The nature of sexual relations is a dynamic which requires balance between the parties involved. An absence of consent represents a fundamental imbalance within this dynamic, and the ability of sex robots to simulate this imbalance is worrying. This is furthered when we consider that robots may be programmed specifically to fulfill a rape fantasy. For example, True Companion sex robot, I guess that's a brand, True Companion. True Companion sex robot has been pre-programmed with the personality Frigid Farah. The idea behind this,
Really?
you can
Is
laugh,
that
but it's really,
serious? That's
what's
an
real.
actual thing?
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's really not funny if you think about it.
No, I didn't think that was a
Yeah.
real thing. Like, is that
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, it's for the guys that want that. The idea behind this personality appears to be that the robots would display signs of non-consent while the user fulfills their sexual desires. This allows the user to act out and experience their rape fantasies. This is all what she wrote. The idea that sex robots could act as an outlet for male aggression is deeply worrying and represents an acceptance that male sexual violence is an inevitable fact. This approach fails to challenge this antisocial behavior, but instead passively accepts it as an inevitable norm. It is submitted that sex robots serve to normalize male sexual aggression. Consider how ludicrous it would be to suggest that a racist should be allowed to shout racial abuse at dark-skinned robots. How then can we propose, right? How then can we propose that allowing men to attack and molest objects designed to look like women would prevent such actions? It would simply allow the user to live out and experience the dark and violent fantasies, despite how offensive they are to women's rights. So in other words, people are saying if this is in there, it will stop the men from actually doing it to others. It'll satisfy them. But this is really, I know this is not true because think about it's these for like all these people that they wind up like killing, raping, but they start out small, right? And they're never
Right.
satisfied with anything and they just keep going and going.
Yeah,
So of course they're not going to be satisfied with the doll. Of course they're then going to graduate to a woman. That's
of course.
been proven over and over again, you know? So,
I agree.
the real problem is that these sex doll, robot, whatever they are, companies are interested in profit. So they're going to say anything. They're going to make whatever they think will sell. They don't
Of
care
course.
about,
It's just like everything else.
it isn't. Okay, well, this is a big problem, isn't it? I mean, it is a big problem for all of us. Like, look at all the things that the money. I mean, obviously, greed is a big thing. I think with Trump, it's like he wants power and money, right? So greed is one of these things that is leading us to society to its downfall. But the sex doll company, they don't care. They don't care. They just care that they're making money. And I think this is a bad thing. We have to start thinking about, what are we doing?
I know.
I remember the women were interviewed that make the doll. One of the women said she worries what's going to happen to the doll.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh yeah, I think about what's going to happen to her. I worry about her." Well, nothing good's going to happen to her.
Doing that. I mean, I know jobs are hard to come by, but wow.
She claims she's really into it, and I guess she thinks it's going to be good stuff for the doll. I don't know.
I have to say, I don't think it's all bad,
No, well, no.
but the bad parts are pretty bad.
If we could do it in moderation, but I don't think Americans are capable of moderation.
The world is just fucked up.
It's true.
That's
the argument that sex robots would improve the ability of the socially inept to interact with other people is flawed. The use of sex robots could have the effect of stunting emotional development and creating an inability to compromise or handle rejection. Thus, sex robots would solidify a person's antisocial habits, confirming their fragility and social failings. Therefore, sex robots would serve to increase social isolation and dehumanize human relationships. That is where I was going to bring up Lars and the Real Girl, if I hadn't already done it.
I agree and I disagree.
Well, do you think that that's the possibility of that happening?
I think that's a possibility, but I think that ship has sailed. I think we're already there. Saying agree and disagree, I think it really
that's
depends
true.
on the person.
This person is trying to make a broader argument against it. As
Yeah,
opposed to,
I see what they're
exceptions.
saying. Yeah, of course.
There's always exceptions. Okay, this is pretty much the wrap up. Okay. Love and intimate relationships are an innate part of human existence. Plato argued that love is the best way to expand our moral horizons, meaning that falling in love can make us morally better. The pursuit of love has essential benefits for self-improvement and development. While programmers may be able to create machines which cause illusions of love, passion, and intimacy, it is difficult to see how these robots will make us better at being with one another. These machines only serve to distract us from pursuing authentic love that could have the capacity of improving us as people. And I think that's well said. On the most forgiving side, the need for and marketing of sex robots could represent a sign of both physical and emotional withdrawal of interested customers from society and an inability to connect with other humans on an intimate level. But on the most brutal side, sex robots are an exemplar of society's obsession with the over-sexualization of women. The consistent portrayal of women as passive and submissive does nothing other than encourage fantasies about controlling and dominating women. Faced with social, psychological evil and sex robot companies putting profit over humanity, are we doomed? And I want to think about it, right? And I have a comment from a man. You know how they put comments at the end of articles on the internet, right? So this was an article about sex robots. And he wrote this. He wrote it very recently. He wrote it a year ago. This is an example of what we're afraid of happening. Yeah, where were you, sir? Okay.
Sir, I don't know where you are.
He's signed, it's L Anon, so he wants to be anonymous.
Of course.
He wrote it in January of 2024, so not like a year and a half ago. Most men have been treated horrifically by women who control by whatever means, are superficial, materialistic, and hateful and nasty. Men don't need to be treated like garbage or used as a money machine. I find it funny myself. I don't think he finds it funny. All us men who have been taken to the cleaners in divorces or mentally abused, cheated on, and threatened will, including myself, be jumping at purchasing android women when they come out. Women won't get dates. No more men in the market to use and abuse. Women will be changing their tunes quick, I assume, and society might just break down, LOL. But let capitalism win the day. Let freedom ring from the hilltops. I don't care what women think. I'm done being treated like garbage myself and welcome the future when it comes, and I will be in line to buy some of the first fully artificial women when they come out.
Bitter. Party of one, your table is ready.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of this.
Okay, I just wow. You know what? He I, I don't understand. Listen, this happens to women
This is
too.
a man who
It's
probably
the
went to, he paid for a lot of lap dances and thought he was going to get more. He went to the wrong places looking for love. That's what I think.
and it's possible. Or he was in a relationship with someone who didn't treat him right. It's a human thing. It happens to men, it happens to women.
Well,
Some
yeah,
people just suck.
I think they just, did you ever notice that men, like, especially if they get hurt young, they're really messed up. Like, it's very,
Yeah.
very hard.
Or maybe he isn't the great guy he thinks he is.
I think he's portrayed himself as not the great guy he thinks he is.
Absolutely. I just, you know what? Whatever.
He
He had a
reminds
lot
me
to
of a lot
sell.
of guys. When I used to put, when I first was dating, unfortunately, I went on Craigslist to look for dates. That's the place. Well, it was because of Howard. Someone on Howard had found love. It's the problem with it. But this guy reminds me of some of the men I encountered. Yeah, and I still dated some of them. Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
So I would like to believe that some men will fight society's trend toward evil and choose love, as Matthew Broderick does with Nicole Kidman at the end of 2004's The Stepford Wives. Ironically, people have panned this kind of version, but I loved it, and I often quote it. It's true, I do. I always quote that movie. I want to believe in Matthew and Nicole's love, but do I? And then I have a quote from Stephen King. The best social horror movies achieve their effect by implication, and The Stepford Wives by showing us only the surface of things and never troubling to explain exactly how these things are done, implies plenty. And then I have a quote from Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Solzhenitsyn, and he was a novelist, I believe. I did write it down somewhere, but it's not here. This is something that I always go by, and I just hope it works. The line between good and evil lies in the center of every human heart. And I just hope that people choose to cross the line the right way.
I like
And
it.
that's what I got. You got any quotes?
I
You're not going to be able to do it because they're on
do.
your phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't prepare, obviously, because I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
I love this quote, and it has nothing to do with anything, but I've always wanted as a tattoo. So I was actually looking them up today, different. Apparently, I didn't know there were so many weirdos like me who are obsessed with these books, but whatever.
Oh,
So, the Dark Tower series by Stephen King.
yeah.
I love Stephen King.
I know that series is popular. Yeah.
Yeah, that is my absolute favorite. It's my favorite thing he's ever written.
Interesting.
So, the quote is, "Go then, there are other worlds than these."
Hmm. Is that meant to be like someone that was off on an adventure to other worlds? Or is that more like go F yourself?
No, no, there's literally in this story, there are different worlds.
Oh, okay.
That's part
So it's
of the story.
encouraging. It's encouraging?
It's not in an encouraging situation.
Okay. Well, I like that because it's open to a lot of interpretation.
It is.
Yeah. That's cool.
And that's
You gonna
why
get that as a tattoo?
yes, and I've always wanted to get this one too, because this is a stamp at the library, and it's damage noted.
I remember you saying that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is funny. Are you gonna get it so it looks like a stamp? I like that. Very nice.
I took a picture of the stamp yesterday.
Yeah, that's all
I
you
just,
need. They do it right on the, nowadays they do it right from the,
I don't know why that always makes me laugh.
it's good. I like it too. I like that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are my two on
Okay.
deck.
Damage noted. I think that could be a lot of us, yeah. But I think the
Yeah.
problem comes if we don't note our damage.
Oh, there's so many people.
I know. Like that, like Mr. Anon.
Why is it that people just love spewing hate to people they don't know? It just really,
Yeah.
is your life that empty?
I guess, yeah.
It's just so sad.
I
But
think
I
it's
love it.
maybe the one time when they feel empowered, like maybe they feel so beaten down and then they, that's what they do.
I know, but I see all these videos now on Instagram, and it cracks me up because it's people who these trolls have made these horrible comments, and they'll post the comment and the person is usually, not to be a douche, but they're usually not a looker, and they're usually commenting on someone's look.
Yeah. Well, I guess that they feel really beat up by the world, so they want to beat up somebody else. It's a terrible thing.
It's really sad,
This is another
but whatever.
psychological problem. And we have a lot of them. Oh boy. All right. Well, on that note, I will say adieu.
Good day from my car.
Llegaron los nuevos McCrispy Strips, listos para aventurarse en la mezcla de mayo ketchup, la barbecue que quedó en el fondo de la cajita, Hot Fudge Sundae y en la nueva Creamy Chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Los nuevos McCrispy Strips, ahora en McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.